My name is Msgr Aganon. I am from the Diocese of Parañaque, Metro Manila, presently the parish priest of San Isidro Labrador Parish, Las Piñas. I was ordained priest September 18, 1982. This year, 2022, I will be celebrating my 40th anniversary of my priestly ordination. I began my mission June 2004, ended in June 2009. I'm here to share my missionary journey in Peru. This foreign mission was a new way of responding to the call to the priesthood. Many years ago, if I remember right, around 1988, in a meeting of Jesus Caritas Fraternity of Priests, I met a diocesan priest from Sri Lanka, Father Joseph Joyasulan. He was relating his experiences of promoting non-violence in his country where there was an ongoing civil war. While listening to him, it dawned on me that the life of a diocesan priest can go beyond the usual parish and diocesan assignments. From there on, thoughts of other diocesan priestly ministry lingered in my mind. Mission was one of them. Years passed. I went through different parishes and diocesan assignments with contentment and abandonment, with joy and sadness, with some success and also regrets. But in general, I was happy with my priestly life. But once in a while, barrage of questions came to my attention. What if I asked for a mission assignment? Is this just my personal desire? Or is God calling me to this? And there were more questions that I could not answer and rather afraid to face. In His mysterious ways, God was preparing me through my 22 years of priestly life to respond willingly to His call to mission ministry. Until I felt the inner restlessness or call could no longer be ignored, and the time for me to launch into the deep came. Year 2004, I made my decision to volunteer for SATS. I was just waiting for the right time to do it. In a providential stroke, I received an invitation letter from the Society of St. James the Apostle to join, giving me an opportunity to work as a missionary in South America. The society was open to diocesan priests of English-speaking countries who were willing to serve in their missions in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador for at least 5 years. So, in June 2004, I said goodbye to my parish assignment then, St. Joseph Parish, Las Piñas City, to my diocese and country. I joined the Missionary Society of St. James the Apostle. My response to God's call brought me to new situations, calling for a deeper faith and obedience to our Lord Jesus Christ. My response also opened me to a different world. My first mission assignment was in San Martin de la Caridad Parish, located in low-income district of Villa El Salvador, south of Lima City. Villa El Salvador was a narrow and long-stretched area where migrants from rural areas relocated. Most of them were escaping poverty or the war and violence between the government forces and the Sendero Luminoso, a Maoist communist rebels wreaking havoc in the 1960s to 80s. Through time, this desert land became urbanized and densely populated. I assisted Father Chan O'Leary, the parish priest, of taking care of the people's pastoral and spiritual needs. The parish was already well established, and it was being prepared to be turned over to the local clergy, which was the goal of our mission. I could not do much because of language difficulty. My earlier months, I was confronted with the reality that adjustments would not be easy. My first encounters with the people, I found that I did not understand what they were saying, and neither did they understand what I was trying to say. I was immensely frustrated then. Fortunately, the encouragement and assurance of my brother priests made me more patient with myself. They shared how they experienced what I was experiencing. To learn and to speak another language, more so to understand the people and their culture, took time. These words console me. I will learn little by little. Or as we say in Spanish, poco a poco. As I struggled with my language proficiency, I followed the basics of pastoral ministry. Listen, be open, and walk with the people in their journey. I accompanied the parishioners in different parish programs and activities, such as catechesis familiar, just like our BEC, Sunday catechetical school, social and medical programs, like feeding program for children, etc. And in this way, I was able to develop a trusting relationship with the people. My initial experience helped me recognize the wisdom of walking with the people in their journey. This can shape the life of a beginner missionary like me. My experience of being helpless and lost taught me patience and respect for the process of incorporating myself into new people, situation, culture, and it has been humbling, yet at the same time enriching. This initial experience set me to venture to my next assignment. After a year in Villa El Salvador, I received a new mission assignment to be a parish priest of Immaculate Conception Parish of the Prelature of Sicuani. The parish was in the municipality of Bilille, province of Chumbovilcas, department of Cusco. From the urban and lowland setting, I was moved to rural and highlands of the Andes Mountains. With this new posting, the society was opening anew the mission in the highlands. It was also a positive response to the persistent request of Bishop Michael Lape, Bishop of Prelature of Sicuani, for missionaries to fill in the parishes where there no presence of priests. Bilille was one of them. I will be joining our two missionaries working in the Prelature, Father Jerry Pasby, who was in Santo Tomas, that's 2 hours drive from Bilille, and Father Ray O'Sullivan, who was in Espinar, 3 hours drive. No pressure came with the offer of the mission to me. In my foolishness, I accepted the mission. The first reality I had to face was the altitude and cold climate. Bilille, the Andes Mountains, was 2 or 3 times higher than Baguio City. Its altitude was more than 3,500 meters above sea level. Along with this, cold climate posed physical challenges, particularly for me, who came from the lowland and tropical climate. Because of the thin air, I experienced shortness of breath and dizziness, and I would get tired easily. This high altitude was physiologically and times psychologically demanding. The climate was a horrible prospect for me, who came from the tropics. It was cold all year round, 4 degrees centigrade to 8 degrees centigrade during the day, and dropping to -2 in the evening. In summer months, it's December to April, it will be blissful to have temperature of 14 degrees to 16 degrees centigrade. We learn to keep ourselves warm. I had 2 to 4 layers of clothing and always had a headgear as protection from the cold and rays of the sun. To cope with chill, I would wrap myself with 4 to 6 woolen blankets when I slept. Thanks to Father Jerry Pasby, we had a heater for our bath water. Alam naman ninyo na tayong mga Pilipino kailangan maligo araw-araw kahit na nagyayelo sa paligid. The Quechua-speaking people of the Andes had always lived in poverty. Far from the center of power, development was exceedingly slow. There was electricity, but potable water was a rare commodity in the town. In villages, people had to fetch water from the well. There were few public transportations servicing the people. The people walked using the more familiar mountain trails that their Inca ancestors used. They followed traditions among themselves, especially the adult, speaking Quechua language. They wore traditional garments which were well suited in their environment and were much cheaper. They were proud of their traditional music and dances. They worshipped soccer and corrida, a mild version of the Spanish bullfighting. They were greatly dependent in the traditional means of livelihood, farming and shepherding. They planted wheat, barley, and potatoes and other vegetables in limited arable lands. Most families had sheep to pasture and some llamas and alpacas. Hard labor and walking were part of daily life. Women were tougher than men, pasturing sheep by looking after their children. They carried most of the family's stuff in their likia, a piece of woolen cloth converted into a backpack. Everything is placed here, even a child. When Msgr Dean Coronel from the Archdiocese of Manila and I arrived in Belille, we found the church building in poor condition. There was a lot of debris inside and outside the church. Part of the ceiling was about to fall down. The church was not used since the last priest left the parish. The Christian community seemed to abandon the church, or they felt abandoned by the church. Surely, people drifted further away from the ecclesial faith and practice. I felt this very early in our mission. Here is what happened on our first Sunday Mass celebration. We excitedly anticipated our first Sunday Mass in the parish. The bell was rung to call the people to worship. It had been a while since they heard this sound. We waited for the parishioners to file in. After a long wait, una señora, wearing traditional dress, finally came. Then 2 children followed. Thus, did we celebrate our first Sunday Mass with 2 priests, 1 catechist, and 3 of the faithful. Although extremely disappointed, Msgr Dean and I were grateful to celebrate the Mass. In the beginning, people were evidently reserved toward us and the church in general. They had their own misgivings because of the experience of priests leaving them. It seemed they were observing if the new priest or nuevo padrecito would persevere, or more precisely, survive and stay. Would the new priest stay amid the poverty, isolation, and harsh conditions of the place? They longed for peace that could be with them. It was a challenge for us, and at the same time hope for them. We wanted to assure them that we were there to stay for some time. We took every opportunity to be with them. We visited them in their homes, went to the villages, hamlets, even their pasture areas. I encountered families and individuals in their simple dwellings, and sought the poorer and isolated sectors of our parish. One time, I was invited to celebrate the sacrament of baptism and the Eucharist in the community of Iñapata. It was in the fringes of our parish. It took hours of travel to reach it. It had been 2 or 3 years that they were visited by a priest. We drove the 4x4 truck through the need to walk and made a steep climb of about less than a kilometer. A walk could be made in 20 minutes, but the altitude of 4,000 to 5,000 meters made it more than 45 minutes. The climb was difficult. I was gasping for air with every step I took. I thought I would die. Hurling a tortuous climb, we reached the place where horses were waiting for us. Ang saya ko noon nung nakita ko na yung kabayo. pero hindi pala madaling sumakay ng kabayo. Riding a horse when one was not used to it was not pleasant, especially when the horse ran fast. I thought my bone will be dislocated during the 2-hour horse drive. Our sacrifice became worth it. When we reached Iñapata, met the people, celebrated the Mass, and baptized 42 school children. We shared a very late simple lunch of caldo de vaca, an Andean delicacy called chunyo, desiccated potato or parang prunes. We headed back to the parish, arriving in the evening, tired with body aching, but we were happy and thankful for the extraordinary experience. I took into my heart lessons I learned from the encounters I had with the people. Plenty of them came from mistakes and misunderstandings. One time, we went to a fiesta of a chapel of Ayakasi, a 2-hour drive away. We arrived at the chapel before 10 a.m. I was disheartened at what greeted us. The chapel was in the middle of the field, surrounded by several abandoned structures. It was still locked, and no one was around except me and my companions. The caretaker of the chapel was not there. After an hour and a half, people started arriving. The caretaker came with his wife and children. By that time, I was already irritated. I confronted him to know why they were late. I had to point out that I have to drive from our parish 2 hours away to reach their place. He was sorry and explained how they had to walk hours from their home to reach the chapel. They could not walk faster because he had his family in tow. Upon hearing this story, a wave of embarrassment washed over me because of clerical arrogance. I have ignored the people's situation. I have set the Mass at 10 a.m. for my convenience. Perhaps, if I had listened more to the people, I could have avoided such useless and embarrassing ranting. Woven into our pastoral ministry was our experience of Nazareth life. A companion priest, Msgr Dean Coronel, and later Father Ruel Arcega, Bulacan, and I lived simply daily and in ordinary way. We did the most of the daily household chores, while a cook will come on some days. We cleaned our big parish house, fixed things here and there, planted vegetables and potatoes in the backyard. We took care of our 2 alpacas. We named them Jacob and Sarah, and raised guinea pigs or kuwi. One cooked breakfast and the other washed the dishes. Usually, ako yun. We did our laundry and fortunately we had a washing machine. Hindi ko maisip paano maglaba ng malamig na tubig. We stocked the parish office, though people seldom came, and updated parish records. Whenever we could, we cleaned the church and did repairs, such as church benches, doors, etc. The parish had no income for helpers, but volunteers lent assistance. Simple life enhanced our love of solitude and prayer. The mountains and hills surround us, the soothing sound of the Bilili rivers, that traverse very close brought tranquility to our daily adoration. This practice made me at peace and strong, especially when I was alone in the parish. Mabilis ang paglipas ng panahon nang hindi ito namamalayan. Unti-unting nabuksan ang aming mga puso at umusbong ang pakikipagkaibigan. Muling nanumbalik ang tiwala. Isa niyo Maria, yung unang nagsimba sa amin, patuloy ang kanyang pagsisimba tuwing linggo. At madalas ay nakikipagkwentuhan ako sa kanya kapag ako ay dumadaan sa kanyang munting tindahan. Ang mga kabataan ay nakikilahok na sa mga gawain ng simbahan. Dahan-dahang naging masigla na ang aming sambayanan. 5 years of mission work were short. It was time to go back home to my diocese. I thought of extending my stay, but I have promised my bishop 5 years of foreign mission work. I'm very grateful to Bishop Jesse Mercado, my bishop, for allowing me to go on this mission. I believe God calls other diocesan priests to mission ministry. After me, there were 3 more Filipino priests who joined the society to continue the mission. I hope more diocesan priests could experience mission life, and bishops would be willing to send their priests to mission. To close, I bring you the farewell message of my parishioners gave me. Hoy queremos expresarte nuestro profundo agradecimiento por haber compartido en nuestro pueblo de Velille todo su ser sacerdote y de persona. Gracias porque lugares donde casi nadie quiere llegar por ser pobre y alejado, usted optó con voluntad y alegría. No es locura estar aquí, es opción por el reino. For us, mission is a call, and a voice telling us to launch into the deep. For others, it's foolishness. Yes, we become fools for Christ. As St. Paul says, we are fools for Christ's account, but you are wise in Christ. We are weak, but you are strong. Thank you.